President Joe Biden's weekly gaffes are getting more concerning, but arguably funnier by the week. The 81-year-old commander-in-chief has taken it to new levels this week, essentially declaring that he can speak to dead people. The president mentioned a conversation with the French president. The problem was he mentioned Francois Mitterrand, who died in 1996.
I sat down and I said, "America's back." And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, "You know, how long are you back for?"
His press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, was typically open and transparent about the situation.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you,
Why?
sir.
What is
We're
the
going to
rabbit hole?
Go ahead.
He said
go
he
ahead.
talked to Mitterrand.
Go ahead. You saw the president in Vegas, in California. You've seen the president in South Carolina. You saw him in Michigan. I'll just leave it there.
It's not just the French who Biden has struggled with. He also recorded a 2021 conversation with the German chancellor, just not quite the right one. The president was quoted mixing up then Chancellor Angela Merkel with Helmut Kohl, who died 4 years earlier in 2017. Now, Biden has a past form for this. Here he is in 2022, searching the room for Congresswoman Jackie Walorski.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
The problem was she had died the month before in a car accident, and the president and the first lady had already paid tribute to her. But what do we think of this? Is this is getting worse and worse? Can Biden speak to dead people?
I think this is just so upsetting in a way. As you say, it's almost funny. And then you realise that this guy is it that his handlers are trying to keep him going because they're the ones secretly running things behind the scenes and they love the taste of power? Or is it a guy who is aware that he's losing his sort of sharpness, or very much almost lost it at this point, but is determined to kind of fight on in a kind of King Lear type way? I think that's a big problem. The other bit is that clip you just shown of the spokesperson there saying, "Oh, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. You saw him here." That's one of the worst bits for me, right? They don't get Prime Minister's questions in America. The best they've got are these daily press briefings with the press secretary like that, answering questions. And when you've got, I suppose, you can't defend the indefensible. She just refuses to talk about it. I think that's really dangerous as well.
It does. I've covered this a few times, but it does make you question. In 2021, the White House reporters actually filed a complaint with the White House about the lack of questions they were allowed to ask Joe Biden. And obviously, not everything needs to be related back to Trump, but it is a stark contrast. So you can say whatever you want about Donald Trump, but at least he faced the media and took questions, regardless of his answers. At least he took the questions. But I agree with you, James. Karine Jean-Pierre just ignoring probably one of the biggest things that will go on voter minds in November is his age and his cognitive abilities. What do you think, Maddie?
I completely agree with James. I mean, firstly, I think very harsh on King Lear there, but I mean, it speaks to the profound arrogance within the Democratic Party high command that they basically take the view that, you know, it's a bad form of journalists to ask questions. I mean, why should anyone be bothered that, you know, the leader of the free world is making the most basic mistakes with recall and eloquence? You know, we here in the UK we have perhaps not the most awe-inspiring crop of politicians, but I really came to the fore when Rishi Sunak was out there visiting Joe Biden, and the fact that he had to sit with cue cards that he basically read off, and this was just a kind of fireside chat between two supposedly friends. You know, it wasn't a hostile press conference, and even that had to be stage managed to such a degree. And I think it's deeply arrogant because there were clearly people in the Democrat Party who were benefiting from this. They are the ones pulling the strings. And, you know, they would rather maintain perhaps the power that they have, the influence that they have, rather than, you know, even face the possibility that the party might look elsewhere for a candidate.
Yeah, exactly right.
And on that as well, this idea of how staged managed American politics is getting to. when I was in government, we made a visit to DC, and in a meeting with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, it is exactly as you say. They've got the cue cards there, and they have to do this. Oh yeah, they let the media come in. They do a bit of a pool filming of it all, and you do a bit of back and forth for the cameras. They go away again, and things relax a little bit. But that mindset of, oh, you're on all this time, and every word counts, it kind of seeps through, and it's very stage managed. So the fact that this guy can't even get someone's name right, who's died nearly 30 years ago.
I mean, because obviously you're getting prompted all the way through. You would think that they can get these name rights, or at least understand who's alive and who's dead. But I think it should be noted with the Karine Jean-Pierre clip that Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy, he's public enemy number one for the White House because he asks probably all the hard-hitting questions that Republican constituents want answered.
Yeah.
He was the one that Biden was caught in a hot mic moment calling a son of a... Because, oh my goodness. Because he was asking questions about whether he had anything to do with Hunter Biden's business deals. So, but I do want to, before we move on, I do want to ask you guys what you think about the fact that, you know, we're months away from the November election. Do you think there's a chance that the Democratic Party could replace him? And if so, do you think there's anyone that they could put their hand up?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think they have now... It's very, very difficult to dislodge the president if he's not willing to resign himself. Ultimately, it most likely comes down to Joe Biden. I'm sure there'll be a lot of manoeuvring at the Democratic Convention next, but ultimately, I think my understanding is that at this late stage, without the president voluntarily stepping down, is very difficult. And, you know, the indications are that those close to Biden, for example, Jill Biden, who was interviewed a couple of days ago, are maintaining the current facade that he's doing absolutely fine and dandy, thank you very much, and he's at the height of his powers and abilities. So it looks like they're still in that bunker mode.
Yeah, it is a bit of an actions speak louder than the words situation.